Good afternoon. Welcome to Composition 2. Today we will introduce Lecture 6 of Chapter 2. This is a continuation, of course, of Danger and Daring, the same topic we've been discussing for the last couple of lectures. Now, what we'll be doing today is taking a look at what is called a thesis statement, and also in addition to that, we'll be looking at supporting ideas. Now, you've probably had the word thesis statement probably is new to you or to some of you, but in the past it's just like saying the main idea or the topic sentence of a paragraph. So a thesis statement is kind of or equivalent to a topic sentence. But this topic sentence or thesis statement is very, very important in a composition or an essay. Many of your instructors, or either here or probably in your schools when you were in high school, focused on the importance of the topic sentence or thesis statement. Why is that? It's for many reasons, and we cannot stress enough how important this is. What I can say to you right now is that it just gives a sense of organization right from the start of your composition or essay. It makes the reader oriented, and it kind of explains it kind of explains what the reader is going to expect to find in the following lines after the thesis statement. So in order to look at that more closely, we would like you to turn your books to page 34 to 37. That's the material we're going to cover in the book. So I took the liberty and kind of had a photo shoot of the book, so you could it would be convenient for you to follow. Now, this is, of course, page 34 of your book, and it talks about the thesis statement, topic, and approach. Now, let's just go through these points and discuss them. Just consider this lecture as explaining the importance of a thesis statement and the importance of supporting ideas in your paragraph or essay, your composition or essay. Right. So the review points mentioned in the book are: an essay is composed of 3 or more paragraphs and communicates an attitude or opinion about an issue. Now, this is an important point about an essay. It's that it communicates, this is a very important point, it communicates an attitude or opinion about an issue. So what distinguishes an essay is that in an essay you kind of express your opinion. You express your opinion. Either you are for or against. You are you like or you dislike. You want to convince the reader that he or she should follow your view, and you're going to tell them why your view is worthy to be followed. Right. Second point, the thesis statement tells the reader the main idea of the essay. Right. Now, the main idea of the essay is told in the thesis statement. So basically what you're trying to do is summarize to the reader what he or she is going to expect to find in the following lines. When you begin your essay saying that, I don't know, football is the most important or popular game in the Middle East, okay? And all of a sudden, you start talking about types of foods in your essay. Well, does that make sense? Once the reader catches the thesis statement or topic sentence about football being the most popular game in the Middle East, he or she should expect you to give more information about how and why football is the most popular game in the Middle East. But it will be very confusing if you start talking about types of foods someone could find in the Middle East. It just doesn't make sense. It's confusing to the reader. Even if you maintain a full stop or you begin a new paragraph, it just doesn't fit. What you have to do is you have to give the reader a clear idea of what you intend to talk about in the following lines and paragraphs. Is that clear? I hope so. So the thesis statement tells the reader the main idea of the essay. Third point we have here is the reader should be able to predict what the essay is about by reading the thesis statement. This is very important. You should formulate your thesis statement in a way that you would make it possible for the reader to predict what you're going to talk about, what you are going to explain or provide in the following lines after your thesis statement. Last point here is that the thesis statement usually appears in the introductory paragraph. Now, we've said this probably before, that the thesis statement or topic sentence does not necessarily have to be the first sentence in your first paragraph. That's not necessary, okay? But it should be around the area of the first paragraph, your introductory paragraph. It should be there somewhere, okay? But of course, it wouldn't be wise to place your thesis statement in the middle of your essay or towards the end. In order to orient the reader, you should provide the thesis statement right around the beginning of your essay. Right. Now, all of these were just review points, and it's assumed that you probably had them before. What we want to do is introduce some new points here, right there, and the new point your chapter presents is that the thesis statement usually contains two parts. Okay, now we're getting into detail here. The topic of your essay and the approach to the topic. Now, what does this mean? The two parts, the topic meaning what you want to talk about, right? The topic of your essay, and your approach to the topic is how you want to convey the message about this topic to the reader. Do you want to convince the reader to support your idea? Are you supportive of the topic? Do you disagree? It kind of expresses your opinion, okay? And second point, the topic presents the general subject of the essay. Right, so when we say that the topic presents the general subject of the essay, meaning is that you want to avoid detail at the beginning. You have to leave detail towards kind of after your thesis statement, because it wouldn't be wise to go into details right from the start, because people don't know what you're talking about yet. So you kind of give them a general view of what you want to write about or want to express, and then leave the details afterwards. So you have to be general at the beginning. It's like it's saying football is the most popular game in the Middle East. It's kind of general and broad. But if you go and say right after that something really specific, or at the beginning you say something really specific and talk about football clubs, like I don't know, I'm sorry, but I don't want to get into football right now. So just avoid detail at the beginning, because we're going to talk about this when we talk about supporting ideas. Right. The topic presents the general subject of the essay, the general subject. So this is the main idea, is general subject, meaning you have to be general and avoid being so specific right at the beginning. It's not wise to do that. A third point is the approach presents the writer's attitude or opinion about the topic and indicates how the writer will develop the essay. So if you begin a topic sentence or a thesis statement by saying, it's a shame that most of the football teams don't get financial support from the government, just saying it's a shame gives the reader an indication that you probably don't agree, and you are against, and you are angry to this fact. And it kind of gives the reader an indication that you will express something negative about this point. So that's your attitude towards something. You like it or you don't like it. And your opinion, when you want to express an opinion about something, you're going to give all of these different examples, and you would say, well, I think this is how it should be. And you give your opinion after giving numerous examples and analogies, maybe. Right. So these points have to be considered right at the beginning of your essay. Remember that we are talking about the beginning of the essay, where we are talking about the thesis statement. Okay? All of this is so important. It's just very important because it facilitates the essay for the reader. It makes reading your essay very easy, because it gives you a setting, and it sets the ground for you to notice and realize that the following lines are going to talk about football and football in the Middle East in a positive way, or football in Saudi Arabia in a negative way, and that, so on and so forth. But you definitely would be surprised if someone starts talking about football in the thesis statement, and then all of a sudden talks about food in the Middle East. That would be very, very weird, right? So you want to avoid that. So what we're trying to say here is that please don't take a thesis statement lightly. It is a very important part of your essay. Okay? Now, I think I've said enough here. Let's move on to page 35. And we have a thesis statement, an example of a thesis statement in front of us. where we would like to take a look at together and see what's going on as an example. Right. So if you take a look at the thesis statement here provided in your book as an example, it says Sidney Pozuelo is a great explorer because he has not only made significant contributions to our knowledge of the Amazon, but has also worked to defend the rights of the indigenous people of Brazil. Now, let me read this statement again. Sidney Pozuelo is a great explorer because he has not only made significant contributions to our knowledge of the Amazon, but has also worked to defend the rights of the indigenous people of Brazil. Now, notice that this is a very good example. This is an example of a very good thesis statement. Now, what do we notice in this thesis statement? There's a comment here right below the thesis statement that I invite you to read, and which we will read together. In this thesis statement, the topic is Sidney Pozuelo, right? Because it begins, notice here that the beginning says, Sidney Pozuelo is a great explorer, right? So you automatically know that this essay is going to talk about someone called Sidney Pozuelo. And not only that, but she says, the thesis statement says Sidney Pozuelo is a great explorer. So just saying is a great explorer just gives you something, it gives you an idea that the writer is going to tell us why Sidney Pozuelo is so great. So that's why the writer says because what? Because he has not only made a significant contribution, has not only made significant contributions to our knowledge of the Amazon, so that's one thing. So Sidney Pozuelo made significant contributions to our knowledge of the Amazon, that's one thing, but has also worked to defend the rights of the indigenous people of Brazil. So Sidney Pozuelo did two things. He made a contribution to our knowledge about the Amazon. In addition to that, he worked to defend the rights of the indigenous people of Brazil. So he did two things. So this is a very good thesis statement because it gives you a kind of summary about what to expect to read in the following lines in the essay. Right. So let's just read the comment in your book together. In this thesis statement, the topic is Sidney Pozuelo. The writer's approach is to show why Pozuelo is a great explorer. From this thesis statement, the reader can predict that the writer will explain that Pozuelo has increased our knowledge of the Amazon while also defending the rights of the indigenous or native people who live in that region. Okay? So this is basically what we just said, right? Now, if we move on to the exercise here in number 1, where you're supposed to analyze thesis statements. For the thesis statements that follow, underline the topic and put a dashed line under the approach. Now, notice that the approach is to tell us why someone is doing this and how and that kind of thing. So what approach are you going to take in your thesis statement? So let's just take number one for the beginning. So many explorers have the urge to explore due to their own curiosity and a desire to make a contribution to the world. Now, what is the topic in this statement? Many explorers have the urge to explore due to their own curiosity and a desire to make a contribution to the world. What would you expect the topic of the thesis statement? Well, what's the topic? Where can we underline the topic? So here it says many explorers. It talks about explorers have the urge to explore due to their own curiosity. All right? So curiosity is the topic. So what makes them explore? What makes these people have an urge to go and look around and explore new stuff? It's curiosity. All right? And a desire to make contributions. Right? So this is the topic of the thesis statement. Now, if you want to underline the approach, in this statement, that would be kind of even difficult to me, but we'll just have to do this together. So when you say many explorers have the urge to explore due to their own curiosity and desire to make a contribution to the world, that would be right. How can we use the dashed line? Let's think about this for a minute. Right. So, if we go back a little bit and read about the approach presents the writer's attitude or opinion about the topic and indicates how the writer will develop the essay. So, the topic is kind of, the approach gives us an idea about the reader's attitude or opinion. Now, what do you think the reader's opinion? How is the writer's opinion presented in this statement? Many explorers have the urge to explore due to their own curiosity and desire to make a contribution to the world. I would say that to make a contribution is the approach, because the writer is going to tell us how these explorers made a contribution. They would have to give us, the writer would have to explain to us how these explorers actually made these contributions. So he has to give us examples. He or she has to give us examples about this. Now, if we just stop there and look down here, where you're supposed to predict how each writer will develop an essay based on the information in the thesis statement, you would say it gives you a comment about thesis statement number 1, which is the writer will explain how curiosity and the desire to make a contribution motivate many people. Okay, so that kind of gives us an indication as to how the writer will develop the essay. This is, of course, your thoughts. Right. Now let's move on to another thing, and that's supporting ideas. Now, once you present your thesis topic, okay, and you're done with that, you have to fill your thesis statement. Once you present your thesis statement and your introductory, let's say you're done with your introductory paragraph, you have to fill in your essay with some detail. This detail has to be very related to your thesis statement, meaning that you have to present examples, you have to present ideas that basically explain your thesis statement to make it enjoyable to the reader, for the reader to continue reading your essay, because it's adding detail is like adding flesh to the skeleton of your essay, so to speak. So let's just talk about the new points presented in your textbook. And now, the approach may include 2 or more supporting ideas about the topic. So, not just 1, but 2 or more. The writer will generally develop these ideas in separate paragraphs. Okay, so each paragraph would contain an idea. And 3, each supporting idea should have the same degree of generality or specificity. So if you're going to talk on general terms, talk about more than one idea. If you're going to be general, the generality should be more or less the same. If you're going to be specific, the specificity has to be more or less the same. Each supporting idea should have the same degree of importance in relation to the topic. So they have to relate to the topic. You can't present something that doesn't relate to the topic. It would be very, very nasty if you did that. Each supporting idea should be distinct, meaning you can't, you shouldn't, or it's not advisable to put 2 supporting ideas that are more or less the same. One supporting idea is enough, and then another supporting idea different from the first one is the way to do it. But to present 2 supporting ideas that are just the same or very similar is a way of filling your essay in a very bad way. Your essay will tend to become dull and boring to the reader. Right. Right. So, to take an example of this, to analyze supporting ideas, in the thesis statement about Sidney Posuelo, the thesis statement we just discussed before, on page 35, The supporting ideas are, number one, he has made significant contributions to our knowledge of the Amazon, and number two, he has worked to defend the rights of the indigenous people of Brazil. Now, these two supporting ideas were presented clearly in the thesis statement. Now, we have to mention things about these supporting ideas, and that is, making contributions and defending rights are equally general topics. So when the writer said, making contributions and defending rights, that's different. Making contributions to knowledge and defending rights are totally different, two different things. So they're not similar. Okay, so you presented two different supporting ideas. Right. And equally general at the same time. When you say make contributions to knowledge, that's a general topic, and defend someone's rights is another different but also general topic. One isn't more specific than the other, so they are equal in weight. The third point, both have the same degree of importance in relation to why Pozuelo is a great explorer. So, what it says here tells us that why, when you say Pozuelo is one of the great explorers, these 2 points tell us why Pozuelo was great. And number 3, they don't overlap. They don't overlap. Making contributions is different from defending indigenous people's rights. So these are two totally different ideas that do not overlap in any way. They can each be discussed in their own parts of the essay. So you can easily place the first idea in one paragraph and the other idea in the second paragraph, and it won't be there won't be any problem with your essay, with the construction of your essay. Right. Now, on page 37, this is a task that I would like you to do on your own, and try to think it through, because the vocabulary is a little bit dense, so try to bear with it and try to look up some words and work hard to do this. But it has writing in it, and that's a crucial thing. So you are supposed to read each of the following thesis statements, underline the topic, and put a dashed line under the supporting ideas. If the thesis statement is good, circle good. If it is not good, circle needs work and rewrite it according to what you learned in this section. Now, just read the thesis statement. If you like it, just circle good. If you don't like it, rewrite the thesis statement again. Now, you go ahead and do that at home, and the next lecture we will present a discussion about this, and we'll talk about it together. In addition, we would like to make this a topic of the live lecture we are going to have in next week. If you would like to prepare, we would like to have the first part of the live lecture around this exercise. Okay? So be prepared with your answers and your questions at the same time, so we can hopefully have a very nice discussion then. Thank you very much. we'll stop here and go to the next lecture. Goodbye.